Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Bytesector. Today we are doing a hardware review. Haven't done too many of those, but we're getting to do more and more of them, which is awesome. We're really excited. Today it's an SSD from Samsung, specifically the 870 QVO, or QVO as I call it. Tune in, let's take a look at how this works. So the first thing to note is that the Samsung QVO lineup of drives started with the 860, and it's a QLC based SSD. In the case of Samsung, their QLC memory SSDs are all SATA. So right off the bat, we're not going to be competing with the NVMe drives of the world. That's kind of a pipe dream. So the 870 QVO is the second generation of QLC memory from Samsung. What does that mean practically for you, the end user? Not much. It means capacity is up to 8 terabytes, read speeds up to 560 megabytes, and write speeds up to 530 megabytes. Not bad, but kind of what we've come to expect from a premium SATA SSD for the last 10 years almost. Quickly diving into the actual drive, I like that Samsung does a metal casing front and back. It's got a premium feel to it, a premium finish. True to form, Samsung, top and bottom, and then the label tells you the model and the capacity and all of your details like serial number and product number, etc., etc. Samsung was less than, forthcoming with a capacity-sized QVO for review, so we have the 1 terabyte, and practically, I can tell you, I don't even know why Samsung makes a 1 terabyte QLC drive. 1 terabyte doesn't even make sense to me. I would have rather seen Samsung run a range from 2 terabytes to 16. A 2, a 4, an 8, and a 16. Not a 1, 2, 4, and 8 drive. But that's just me. Maybe the 880 QVO will go that far and fix this. I'll show you in the benchmarks in a minute here, but I can tell you, I don't know if my unit had a problem or my experience is consistent with what Samsung puts out as a QVO, but I had a burst speed which was consistent with what I would expect from a SATA SSD. And then I had speeds plummet. File transfers that shouldn't take that long were taking 10 minutes. Speeds would drop from 500 megabytes burst down to like 60 to 80 megabytes a second. The other things to note are IOPS. Again, I've listed out the 560, 530 read-write speeds. IOPS are 98,000 read and 88,000 write. Yeah, nothing spectacular, nothing, blow me out of the water, 600,000 stuff that you see with NVMe, but that's because this is SATA. And that's on par with what you can expect from a SATA SSD. So, my only other point before we jump into benchmarks is I wanted to talk about use case. QLC is excellent if you want to use it for storage and archival storage specifically. So your photo library, your maybe music library, a backup of your videos. That's what it's good for. So that's why I don't see 1 terabyte as being even reasonable or sufficient, because my photo library is not 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes or 3 terabytes. You get the picture. Problem 2, Samsung's biggest pitch for the 870 QVO is its high capacity. It's 8 terabytes of capacity in that price to performance, or price to capacity ratio. Sorry, capacity, not performance. That's the selling point of the 870 QVO. Selling a 1 terabyte or a 2 terabyte drive doesn't support the biggest use case Samsung puts on the product page for the 870 QVO. There's nothing else. They talk about how it's supported by the Samsung Magician software, or, how you can upgrade with ease, or how it's reliable. But the biggest thing is the high capacity, and they do claim enhanced performance, but frankly, like I said, this performance is on par with what you'd get from a normal SATA SSD. I think there are other options at that point if performance is going to be the talking point. Other than that, go big or go more is what Samsung says. So let's see if it's worth the money. So kicking our benchmarks off is the SiSoft Sandra drive score. You can see here it comes in at 536.89, which is exactly where we'd expect a SATA-based hard drive to come in at. Definitely right where this Samsung 870 QVO should be. Moving on to the Crystal Disk Mark sequential speeds, you can see the sequential read and writes bang on where Samsung claims. They claim a 560 megabyte a second read. Well, we got 563. They claim a 530 meg write. We got 533 write. So exactly where we'd expect it to be. Moving on to the random 4K IOPS. Again, we look at the random 4K reads, 98,240.7. The claimed from Samsung is 98,000, bang on. The random write, we got 83,808.3, which falls a tiny bit short of the 88,000 claimed IOPS for random 4K write. No biggie though. The problem is here, real world testing. So the synthetics come back matching the spec sheet identically. But when I actually started to do file copies, here we go. I mean, granted, it's up against a bunch of NVMe drives, so seeing that it took 504 seconds to copy a 70 gig file is concerning. The problem is we saw a peak write speed of 461, and that's the peak, not the sustained. What does that mean? Well, real world experience, the sustained write speed, it peaked at the beginning and then sustained was somewhere between 60 and 80 megabytes a second. Now that we've seen the benchmarks, performance not so great. Not anywhere what I would expect from a sustained performance SATA SSD. What I can tell you is a 1 terabyte 870 QVO will set you back 175 Canadian dollars. That scales to 340 for the 2 terabyte, 675 for the 4 terabyte, and a whopping 1500 for the 8 terabyte. Remember, we reviewed an SSD earlier this year that goes up to 8 terabytes in NVMe speeds for 1500. So let's not get into that. End of the day though, a 1 terabyte Samsung 860 Pro is going to set you back almost $400. So this is less than half the price. A 2 terabyte 860 Pro will set you back over $600, which is again about half the price to go with the QVO. So now it's starting to make a little more sense. You're going to sacrifice the performance in a big way, but you're going to, you can basically invest about twice as much and get double the capacity for the price versus a comparable 860 Pro from Samsung. Here's the problem. Samsung also makes the 860 EVO, which is a budget version of their Pro version of an MLC SSD. SATA as well. And for $200, $25 more, you can get the 1 terabyte 860 EVO. Sure, on paper, it says it's 550 instead of 560 read, and in terms of megabytes a second, and 520 megabytes write instead of 530, the same 98,000, read IOPS and 90,000 write IOPS. And I'll bet you, haven't tested it, I'll bet you it gets better sustained write performance. So now the use case, the selling point of an 870 QVO kind of doesn't make sense to me, especially at the low capacities. The 860 EVO tops out at 4 terabytes, whereas this goes up to 8. But again, it just doesn't make sense to me. Anyways, guys, that's it for the review today. I'm glad you tuned in. I hope you have some, feedback about your experiences with an 870 EVO. I'd love to hear it, see if my experience was kind of consistent. But from my perspective, I'd hold off and see what the 880 QVO comes along with. Thanks for watching today's video. If you didn't like it, you know what to do. Give us a thumbs down. Leave us a comment below letting us know what we can improve for next time. But if you did like it, give us a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the bell beside it so that you get notified the next time we post a video. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Have a great day, and we'll see you all next time.